I'm Kyle Mosier. I'm a redshirt sophomore, and this is the Boilermaker Technique of the week. In this week's technique, I'm going to show my version of the half Nelson. For starters, from the referee's position, I like to start with a spiral ride to get the guy broken down enough so I can grab a wrist. That's the key to my version of the half Nelson, is having a wrist at all times, whether it's this one or this one. So, for starters, spiral ride or a college ride, right here, and I like to grab this opposite wrist right off the bat. So I hop sides to that wrist and get a half Nelson in that wrist. Start over again. The way I like to get it is to a college ride right here, get them broken down just a little bit, and just pop this wrist, hop sides, and have a half Nelson in this wrist. Now the next thing the guy's going to do almost every time is, once you get this half Nelson, is he's going to sit to this shoulder hard. He's going to sit that shoulder hard to the mat, which makes it easy for you to lift this arm and put it right on your thigh. And then once you get it on your thigh, you're going to try to take his elbow and drive it straight over his head. Just drive it straight this way, not that way, which most guys want to do. So all you're going to do is use your hips to drive his elbow right over his head like this, just forcing him to his back. And it's not something this guy's going to see coming. So try and keep this half Nelson as much as I can. And he's going to sit that hip, and all you're going to do is drive this hip right over his head, right to this position, and the ref will start counting for near fall right here. So start it all over again. It's a spiral ride to a breakdown to a 101 to half and 101 that he usually sits. All you're going to do is pull it up right into your hip and use your hip to drive it right over his head, right there. And a lot of times this bottom hand ends up coming from a half Nelson back to a wrist once you've turned him. So you have a half Nelson most of the time. You get this up, you come around, and if you could come around behind me, you'll see that I go from this half Nelson, from a half Nelson back to a wrist once I get him turned, and block his head with my knee right here. And then there's another option, is if he sees this coming, you break him down, get the one-on-one, the half, and you put this up in your hip, and he sits this shoulder hard down to the mat. Then you have the option of this half. So you just sink this half hard, switch sides, and just run the half again at that angle, not straight across his back, but towards his head, towards the top of his head, about 1 o'clock. And just sink the hip, just like a normal half Nelson. And that's the Boilermaker Technique of the week.